Welcome back to lesson 2 of this C++ programming course. In this lesson we're going to learn to do one of the most famous programs in the world. It's one that virtually every programmer has done at some time in his life, and it's called HelloWorld. And put basically, all it's going to do is print those words Hello World onto the screen. Now you might think, what on earth is the point of doing that? Why is Hello World important? Well, Hello World teaches us the basics of printing information out, and it's a very important piece of information to be able to do, a very important function to be able to use, because when you write lots of code, it is always very useful to know what is going on throughout your code, and if you've got problems, being able to print out comments shows you where your program is working and where it's not working. So being able to print Hello World is an absolutely crucial skill that every good programmer needs to have. So in this lesson we're going to learn the basic serial print functions. We're going to learn how to start communication with the serial port, and then we're going to learn to print out some text, and then we're going to take a little look at printing out some numbers, and we'll see the differences in the way those two things are done. So I'm going to reset the screen now to get the Arduino IDE started up, and we'll get on with some coding. So as you can see, the IDE has started and it's gone back to the last sketch that I was working on, comments version 3, which is from our last lesson. So let's start ourselves up a new sketch, file new, get rid of the old one, and do some health checks first. We're going to start by plugging in my Arduino. And although it says Arduino Uno on COM26, we're just going to take a look again, Arduino Uno COM26. Again, there's no rhyme or reason. Yours might not be 26, yours might be any number, 3, 13, who knows? Any number. The system just allocates a number, but we know that we're connected. The other thing that we're going to do this time is we're going to open the COM port. Now, in our last sketch we did actually write something, and you can see in the corner here it just says hello. Now when we upload our new sketch, it will overwrite anything in the memory of the Arduino, so anything that was there is going to be removed. Next thing we need to do is save our file. It's a good habit to get into, start saving at the beginning, and because we're looking at a good process of versioning our code, we're going to save as. If you remember last time we did comments, and we had 3 versions of our comments code. So this time I'm going to create a new folder. We'll call it Serial.print, and then in that folder we'll create Serial.print version 1. Okay, we're away, and I'm going to just adjust the screen a little bit so that you can see a little bit clearly what I'm more clearly what I'm typing. So we've saved the file. Let's start with some commenting. A few lines of comment block in there. Date in first. Why put the date in? Well, it enables you to sort of look back at when the code was written, and it might sound weird. I often look and think, what level of programming was I when I wrote this sketch? You know, if it was recent, I can look and think, okay, the code's going to be reasonably good. If it was written years ago, I might be thinking, oh, I might have some blunders in there. It might need rewriting. So I might use parts of the code, but based on when it was written, I might just go back and get some ideas. Our script name, Serial.print version 1, and the purpose, print hello world to serial. There we go. That's the purpose of the script. So when we go into it, it reminds, okay, this is why I wrote this. I wrote it to print this. So let's get started. Now, if you remember in our previous lesson, we have these two functions, setup and loop. Setup is the bit that runs once. This is the start your car, engine warning lights all come on, setting up the car before you start your journey, or packing your school bag, putting your sandwiches in, having a wash, all the rest of it, things that you do once before you arrive at school in the loop to do the deeds of the day, or you in your car. This is our journey. So this is the thing that we do once. This is then what we're going to be repeating for the rest of the day. So the first thing we need to do is start some communication. So we're going to connect to the serial monitor, and for that they have a really cleverly named function called Serial.begin. Why not? Let's explain the line of code. So Serial.begin 9600 connects, or shall we say starts, serial communication 9600. What does that mean? Well, that is the speed, bits per second, in fact. So bits per second. So if you like, that's the number of zeros and ones that it can send through to the serial window at that speed. That doesn't mean much to you at all. You know, I can see your eyes fading from here. So let's put it into English. You don't need to worry about this now, but there are 8 bits in a byte, and a character such as the letter A is 1 byte. So that equals 9600 divided by 8 is 1200 characters per second. So at this speed we can print 1200 characters per second, which is a bit like printing out the alphabet 50 times a second. That's a lot of typing, far faster than I can type, and certainly far faster than I can read. So that's quite quick enough. Now if I just switch over to the COM window, that 9600 must match this speed here. There's a variety of speeds, and there are times when we will use other speeds, but if the two speeds don't match, you'll either get nothing appear or gobbledygook appear. So it's important that this speed here matches this speed here. So that's our communication started. Let's look at a little bit more about our line of code. Our digital spell checker has highlighted the function in a lovely browny orange color. So that means it recognizes it and all is well. Now something to remember is that these functions are case sensitive. So if I change that serial to a small s, it goes black. That's a sign that something's wrong. If I change the B to a capital B, I get an error. Something's wrong. And when I compile it up, it'll come up with a line, something to do with that. You know, there's a mistake there. What I would say is, after you've done this, in fact, we'll type it up here to remember. After completing lesson, alter spelling case of functions to see error. Okay, there's a little bit of homework. So you'll alter that, make that a capital I, and then press the compile button and see what happens. Another little thing that you could do, going back to the COM port window, you might want to run the script, alter the baud rate and see what happens. It might sound strange to force an error, but at least by forcing the error, when you see the error by accident in the future, you're going to know what happened, what's caused it. Now that is our function. This is the speed, the number that we're sending to the function, and then on the end here we have a semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon, because that for the compiler is the end of the line. Now if you remember when we talked about comments, I really can't spell, the compiler sees the 2 forward slashes on a line comment and it removes that entire line. And if you remember, I said if we pressed return and we typed something extra, that would cause a problem because the compiler doesn't see that as part of the line above, it sees that as separate. So let's get rid of that. But when it comes to writing code, the semicolon is at the end of the line. So we're going to do something a little bit silly here. I'm going to start the engine a number of times. Whoops, there we go. Yep, that'll do. Let's stick that back on there. Stick that back on there. So here we go. We've now got semicolon, 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 semicolon. The line is complete stupidity what I'm trying to do, but what I'm trying to show you is that is one line of code. That would be treated as another line of code, another line of code, and another line of code. Now, why don't we just write it all on one line? Well, let's be honest, even those 4 things start to look really difficult to understand. So we write code in a sensible way and we lay it out in a way that is easier for us as humans to read. Now, next little thing we're going to look at, if you remove that semicolon, the compiler is going to assume that all of this is one line, and again you're going to get an error. So the thing you need to remember, there must be a semicolon at the end of the line. The other bit that you will forget is the second curly brace. It happens all the time. So curly braces and semicolons will be forgotten on a regular basis. Right, and again afterwards it's worth removing them just to force the error, just to teach yourself what the error looks like. Next, send hello world, and the function we use for that is Serial.print line hello world. Okay, so we have a function, and I'm just going to write the function out again below just to explain a little bit about functions. So the actual function, if you look it up in the manual, just is that line. The function sends something, prints something, and it prints whatever you put in here. So in our case, we've put hello world. Crumbs. Again, the spelling's awful. Good job we have digital spell checkers. Okay, so we're going to serial print that, and I guess best thing we can do is print it. So let's press the button. The compiler starts, turns it into all those zeros and ones, and it sends it off to our Arduino. Now I'm going to swap windows for you. And it's just finished its compiling, and there we go. Hello World has arrived. Okay, let's go back. So that is our first proper program. We've done Hello World. Now we're going to do a little bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our versioning. So we're now going to go save as Serial.print version 2. So we've changed the version number, and let's change the version number up here. Now printing hello world doesn't really help us to do anything, but watch this. A little tip for you. Serial.print version 2 ... Okay, now when we start up, it's going to send the script name. Why send the script name? Well, if you're swapping between versions, you can actually forget which version is on the Arduino. And when I'm building things, especially when I'm building certain things for my model railway, sometimes there'll be 7 or 8 versions of something, and the version that I use may not be the last version. So a recent project I was on, version 5 worked really well, and then I tried to do a few little extras in version 6 and that didn't work, and I did some few little more tweaks in version 7 and that didn't really work. Version 5 was the one that really worked well. But of course then when I go to attach the Arduino, which version have I left on the Arduino? So by being able to connect it and by making sure that this is in my setup right at the beginning, if we compile it now, we will see that we get our version, our script title in our first printout. So have a quick look as it goes. There's our old hello world from last time round. There we go, we're there. So Serial.print, that's what we're doing now. We can delete that. What's the purpose now? Version 2 to print numbers. Okay, so we've printed the script name. Let's copy that. We're going to paste it down here. And we're going to put in there 1, 2, 3. So send 1, 2, 3 to serial. And if we compile that, wait the magic moments, switch over to the other view. There we go. We see Serial.print version 2 1, 2, 3. Now, just a matter of interest, this is why sometimes the showing the timestamp is useful, because if I open and close again, then it tells me when this information was put up there. Sometimes if you're getting a load of information up there, you're thinking, has that just happened? Did it put it up twice? If you've got the times, then you'll know the difference between them. So let's go back. Now, it's printed 1, 2, 3. That's what we asked it to do. When we looked, it wrote 1, 2, 3. But now there's a question for you. Is that 1, 2, 3 the number, or 1, 2, 3 just as a set of text, just as there is a number 2 in there? Well, what did I say before? If we have these brackets, the exclamation marks, the text that we put between those is the text that is printed. However, now we're going to see something. I'm going to copy that again, paste it down, and this time, just so that we can see clearly that it's not the same thing, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you would think, because there are no exclamation marks, that we would get an error. So we'll upload it and see what happens. We'll wait patiently. Swap to the other window. There we go. So now, of course, the timestamp helps us. We can see that this was done at this time. This is what just came out. So the name of our script, 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll notice they both printed perfectly. Now, What has actually happened here is when we sent 1, 2, 3 here, we sent it as a text string. So that sends 1, 2, 3 as a text string. Okay. This line sends 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a number. Okay. So it doesn't need the exclamation marks. It's quite happy to accept a number. Now, sending numbers gets quite interesting. So you might think, okay, what can we do that's more interesting than that? Well, let's send a little bit of mathematics. So put another line in, send, and what we're going to do is 5 plus 10. Okay, copy that, drop it in there, and if we compile now, waits patiently. So there we go. We can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 5 plus 10 equals 15. Another little thing just to show that we are printing a number. We're now going to go send 5 plus 3, 5 plus 10 as text. So if we now put the exclamation marks in, here we go. You will get used to this waiting. It's the time to have a drink. There we go. So we've got serial print 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 15, and then the string 5 plus 10. And we can put any mathematics in here. If we take this back and put this in again, we're going to go send 5 times 10. And lo and behold, upload. There we go. Our bottom line is 50. Okay, one last thing. At the moment, everything we've done has been in the setup. Let's put something in the loop. So just copy string. I'm going to put this in here, and we're going to put Serial.print in loop. Okay. Print in the loop. Okay, compile this one. Ooh, what's going on here? I'll just stop the auto scroll a sec. We can go right up to the top. Oh my goodness, there we go. Long way. So we can see we got our serial print. Notice that gobbledygook. That's because some information was coming through when the code started to upload to the Arduino, and it shut it off at an odd point. So serial print version 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 15, 5 plus 10, 10, and then we get serial print in the loop. And what I want you to look at, and this starts to give you an idea of speed. So hours, minutes, seconds. So the time of 51.041 seconds, it wrote this. It then wrote that second bit, 55.089. It wrote another bit. Now this is due to some buffering in the way that Serial works. We don't need to worry about that. But what I want you to look at is just how fast that is printing out. That is really, really quick. Right, what we're going to do now, we're going to save this version. So let's save as version 3. And I'm going to get rid of this line. What I'm going to do is just comment it out. Now if you put those marks in, those forward slashes in, the text goes grey and it will treat it just like it's a just a line of text. So let's put a little bit of information there. Line below has been commented out. And we're going to do a similar thing up here. We're going to put our version 3 in there. I'm going to put a version 3 in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out some code. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a multi-line comment out. So /* and then the opposite. And as you can see now, that whole block of code has been commented out. I've just done that. We can, if we take that out and move it up, everything that's within that block, if we were to recompile the code, will not appear. In fact, I'm going to just clean the COM port, and here we go. Let's send that off just to demonstrate to ourselves that that's what happens. Switch over our views. As we can see, we've still got endless lines that were being written. I'm going to close the window and reopen it, just so you can see. There we go, Serial.print version 3, and all those other lines that we commented out here have not appeared. Now, the purpose of this script, we're going to go up here, is to use function Serial.print. And you think, hang on a minute, we've just been using Serial.print, but actually we haven't. If you look, we've been using Serial.print line. So we're now going to delete some lines of code here. And what I'm going to do is copy that, put it down a line. We're going to take all the text out and just put a space in there. This will print a blank line. This is going to give us a little bit of space before our next item that we're going to put in. So now we're going to do Serial.print, not print line. Okay. And I want you to be able to see the differences here. So sorry for being lazy and copy and pasting, but we're going to change now that to Serial.print, and we're going to write in here first line of text. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the second line in. We're going to put second line of text. Okay, let's compile it and see what happens. Swapping over to our other window. There we go. So it started here, then we've got our blank line, and then we've got first line of text, second line of text. Now if we skip back, you think, hang on a minute, we printed 2 lines, but we didn't. So the difference between serial print line and serial print does not put a carriage return at the end of the line. Is that useful to us? Well, yes, it is actually. I'm going to show you something that I use quite regularly. Let's imagine that I've got some values that are changing within my program and I want to display them. So we're going to call it the text in here. I'll put in val x, okay? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a colon and a bit of space. And in the line below, I'm going to just write a number. 23. Whoops. 23. So it's 23 as a number as opposed to 23 the string. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do that as a print line. And then I'm going to copy and paste it again. We're going to change that to 46. So we'll compile our code, switch windows again, and we see the output. So the value x on these 2 lines is the serial print without the carriage return, and then the numbers both had a carriage return afterwards. So by using the 2 functions together, you can start to get a very simple structure to some code. Now what I'm going to do is go back to our code, and we're just going to save it as a new version. So let's save as serial print version 4. And we'll just do our final little part of this lesson. Change that to 4. Change this to 4. And press save, just to make sure we've got it all. Okay, purpose to display how we would show a variable for real. So now I want you to think as if we're creating ourselves a robot car, and we've got a sensor that's sending us some numbers or some other item. And so we're going to take this little bit of code and we're going to put it down in our main loop. Yeah, what have I done there? Control C, Control V. I'm going to delete that bit out. I'm going to create a variable called Q. You don't really need to know too much about this at the moment because we'll cover it in the next lesson, but this means it's an integer, a number that we're going to call Q, and in our loop we're going to print the value of Q. Then what we're going to do is add something to Q, and then we're going to delay for a very short period of time, 100 milliseconds, that's 0.1 of a second, and we're going to get the value of Q to display. So Q might be our sensor. Let's imagine our car is moving along, it's getting values, what's coming back. So we're going to compile this up and see what we get. Switch to our other window, and there we go. As you can see, the value of Q is increasing. So if you can imagine, if you wanted to find out what's going on in your program, this is the sort of thing that you would do. As we go back, we see that the text is coming out first and then the value is coming out afterwards. So in this lesson, Hello World, we've learned why Hello World is important. We've seen the basic serial print and serial print line functions, and we've learnt to print text and we've learnt to print numbers. I hope this has been useful for you, and if you are enjoying the series, I've now discovered why they say this at the end of all their videos, but if you've enjoyed the lesson, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe so that you're informed when new lessons come through. So thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you at the next video. Bye for now.